So, welcome to Walpole United WFC.
Hello, welcome. It's another Friday night. Would you believe it? And look, I'm here again. I don't know what I've got to do to get sacked, really, but there we go. We'll keep trying. Who knows? Maybe one day. Don't adjust your sets once again. It's another new background that I've downloaded from Google. I finally made it into a new place, so tried to start decorating it with little Man United bits. We've got my favourite moment of all time there in the 1999 Cup final. You know the one. And of course, a rather tasty mosaic. There's more to come, I'm sure. So there we go. I hope everyone's all right. How are we doing? We've got two mats today, so this is going to be entirely entertaining. We'll kick off with Mr. Craig down there underneath me. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very well. Do you know what, Barry? I've just come to realise that it's my very first Friday night show this ever.
Wow. Oh, here we go.
So yeah,
See?
Finally.
I know that's it. But no, yeah, happy to be on. It's been a while, and yeah, looking forward to it. Like I say, see what Friday nights are all about.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming down. And from one Matt to another, Matt, who's also on his first Friday night, I do believe. Matt, how are you doing?
Indeed. Yeah, I'm good. Enjoying the sunshine. And, looking forward to this tonight. Certainly a few talking points.
Absolutely. I'm sure there's going to be plenty to chat about. Literally too much, maybe, but we'll see. We'll see how we get on. I might have to be a little bit less lackadaisical than I normally am. John, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, Barry. Busy week at work, and while we're on the cold water court paintings, there's Pittsburgh behind me, where my wife is from, beautiful city. So, yeah.
Brilliant. We should definitely make this a thing, talking through our backgrounds, I feel. And Ellie, how are you?
Very good. I'm loving being back on Friday night.
Superb. Well, we've got a lot of Friday night football, and this is what we've got. So we're on a time limit today, gang, because people have got plans. You know, it's Friday night. The sun's out. People have got things to do. People are off to dinner. They're off to play football. They've got other things to do. It's unreal. So we're on it today. We've got so much to go through that I've forgotten to push the button, but never mind, because I'll do it now, and that will tell you everything that's going on today. We're going to say goodbye to an OG. We're going to say thank you to Martha Harris. We're going to have a little chat about her because she deserves it. And then we're going to have a little chat about the Lionesses. We're going to talk about pre-season friendlies. We're going to talk about whether people should have been picked or whether they shouldn't have been picked. And then, joy of joys, we potentially have ding ding. Are you ready to rumble? Is there such a thing as a new club mentality? It's going to be entertaining. I personally can't wait. But we're going to kick off with the amazingly sad news that Martha Harris has decided to move on with her career. Now, Martha, bless her, has been with us since the beginning. So I hunted through Twitter, everywhere that I possibly could, to try and find some people who've been here since the beginning. And thankfully, we managed to get one of those guys here. So I can't really say too much. I saw bits of it on the telly. I was nowhere near as interested in 2018 and 19 as I am now. And Matt, on the other hand, Mr. Crane down below, he has. So I'm going to throw it over to you, really, Matt, to kick this one off. Obviously, you were there. You saw what she was like in person, in the flesh. What do you think of Martha Harris and how she got on at United?
Yeah, so obviously part of the original 21. She was one that obviously when it was announced, anybody that saw the squad, you probably, most people would have heard of her as one of the sort of the ones with WSL experience. Obviously, there's a load of others as well. Chamberlain, Greenwood, etc. I could list the whole squad, but yeah, specific to Martha, obviously she came in. She was our first choice right back in the 18-19 season. Solid enough in the championship. She did a good job. We'll get onto the penalty later when we're talking memories. But yeah, just everything you'd want. In the championship, we'd obviously spent and invested quite a bit into that squad. And Martha was one of those in the back line. Amy Turner as well. Alex Greenwood, like I mentioned before, and obviously Millie Turner with the experience. So I think in terms of what you'd want from a team, I think it was pretty much solid at the back. And it showed in that season, I think. And Martha was one of them where she'd kind of probably sneak under the radar. You know, there was things that she'd maybe do or performances where, you know, you kind of look at it and you'd assess and you think, oh, okay, you know, fair enough. But I think, again, just a player that comes in and gets on with a job, you know, sort of a quiet member of the team, like I say, you know, not somebody that's kind of out there like Millie Turner style, things like that, but somebody that just came in, would do a job, would go home and then start again ready for training, you know, during that week. I think obviously season 2, you know, didn't probably get as many games as she'd like. You know, obviously we had Kirsty Smith as well that was providing competition and was used at left back and right back. Obviously injuries as well caught up with Martha. But again, you know, she was always, when called upon in our first season, she was always there and, you know, able to put in, you know, decent performances at times. And then obviously, you know, sort of the last couple of years, it's been difficult for her, hasn't it? I was actually, it's probably going to sound harsh, but actually surprised that she carried on this season, to be fair. But she has done. And, you know, as an original player, I don't think we can, you know, really knock her too much or complain, because at the time, you know, like I said, she's come in, she signed for us, she took, you know, a drop from the WSL to the Championship, and she's been a good servant to the club.
Absolutely. And I think for me personally, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. The fact that, you know, she hasn't played as much as she could have done this season. She hasn't played much the season before and the season before that. And so you do get to a point where you do wonder, you know, what you're going to do as a player. I do feel for her because clearly she had sort of Manchester United in her mind and she wanted to stick with us and put the effort in. So fair play for the loyalty. I suppose a point has to come, doesn't it, where you put your career in front of everything else, really. And I suppose that's what's happened. As you said, I'm sure you'll come on to the penalty in a bit. I've got the stats down as being 34 appearances and 1 goal, which, while it might be less appearances than she had for Liverpool, it's 1 goal more. So there we go. We will take that one. I think really to the other 3, I have no idea what your memories of Martha Harris are like and how often you got to see her. But we've spoken a lot, especially on this show, and certainly Ellie and John, we've spoken a lot about getting experience, people that have been there and done that. And so I decided to look for a few facts and figures. And actually, she's won the WSL. She won that with Liverpool in 2014. I never knew that because that's not a stat I ever would have looked up. I don't tend to be looking through the Liverpool women's team while they're in the Championship. They weren't worth worrying about. But she was also in the Team of the Year that year. She was the Young Player of the Year. And then 2 years later, she was the Player of the Season named by Liverpool. So, in a way, I suppose the question I want to ask to the remaining 3 of you is, of course, what's your memory, if indeed you have any? But do we think Martha Harris has been a little bit undervalued? And yes, injuries might have caused a bit of a problem, but actually, we did have a bit of ready-made experience there. Somebody who has won the WSL and was part of a team that managed to do that. I'll throw that over to you first, John.
I think unfortunately I only really started watching women this season, so I don't think I saw Martha Harris live, unfortunately. But of course, you can appreciate she has been a good servant to the club, particularly when we're in the Championship that first season and that. And I think that it is sad to go. Unfortunately, hasn't worked out this season. Or like you said, I wasn't aware that she won the Championship with Liverpool, but but I think unfortunately she's been unused a lot this season, so I think it was very inevitable that she was going to go this summer. So from my perspective, we wish her well for the future. Thank you for being a servant to us for 4 years.
Absolutely. And again, just to clarify, not the Championship of Liverpool, the actual WSL, the big thing that we've been desperately trying to win.
That's what I meant.
The big fish. But I mean, she's got it all. Ellie, what do you think? A player to look up to for youngsters?
Yeah, of course she is, because I mean, obviously she's been at our club since day one. I've read she won the Championship with them and everything, but I do think she's been really unlucky this season, because every game that I've been, I've really not even seen her play once, and I do feel for her a little bit, because she's always just sat there on the bench and everything. So maybe this is the right move for her, but I mean, I was gutted to see her go because I would have obviously liked to have seen her play and everything. I think it was the last home game of the season that I did actually say to her, "Are you going?" And she said she doesn't know yet. So obviously we know now she's gone. So I think it's just because she's been there since day one. It's sad to see her go. Like she's been there since the growth of the team. So I mean, it is hard to see her go, but I just wish her the best for the future. And whatever team she decides to go next, she'll be a massive part of. And I hope she gets more game time.
Absolutely. Matt, I have no idea when you first started coming along. What do you think? Martha Harris, what's your thoughts on her?
Yeah, I mean, I was only able to go to a couple of games during the championship season. So that was slightly before my own move to Manchester. I was on the eve of our WSL debut, funnily enough. So, yeah, didn't quite see the best of her. But I think the stats you read out about, the fact that she's won the WSL, the fact she won individual awards at Liverpool, kind of backs up Matt's point about her perhaps going under the radar. And of course, in that championship season, we had the iconic Turner and Turner partnership, one of which has been in the news today, of course. And of course, when the other fullbacks an established international new club captain, those three were kind of all going to grab the headlines before Martha. Again, somebody who just kind of quietly gets on with her job. But also, you mentioned Kirsty Smith. Obviously, the last couple of years, we've also had Honor come in, who's, of course, been absolutely superb. So that's pushed Martha even further down the pecking order. I did wonder if after Casey left last year, that maybe Martha would take that opportunity to move on herself, as that season we had seen quite a sizable drop off in the number of appearances that she was able to make. But I think I'm right in saying she only played once, certainly in the league this season. So I don't think it was really a surprise to anybody that she moved on. I think perhaps more of a surprise that it didn't happen a year earlier. But, she is one of the OG 21. She did make a significant contribution, particularly in that original season. So I can say, thank you to Martha for the contribution that she made, and we wish her well for wherever she goes in the future.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And again, you mentioned Honor. I mean, it's one thing getting Kirsty Smith coming up to give you a bit of a run for your money, but Honor comes along as well. Poor Martha must have been sat there looking at that going, crikey, what a bit of strength in depth that actually is. So, I think we certainly all here at All for United WFC, and indeed All for United as well, I'm sure, wish Martha the absolute best with everything that she goes on to do. At the end of the day, I suppose my last question comes to you when it comes to Martha, Matt. What sort of legacy do you think or what sort of impact do you think that we can say that Martha's had? I suppose, like when you try and relate it to the men's team, you might start thinking back to '92 when we won the first ever Premier League and all of that sort of thing. And there's certain players within that, like Eric Cantona, that obviously stand out. Whereabouts do you think Martha Harris is going to stand in 20 years' time? Is she still going to be remembered as one of those OGs, or do you think she still might be one of those who sort of flips under the radar a little bit?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I suppose it's difficult because for me, the only thing I say the only thing, it's going to sound harsh, but I remember very well that the highlight for me is obviously the penalty in Ben's beard. I mean, it is though, like, you know what I mean? Obviously, like I said, a hard-working player, and listen, whoever picks her up, I've heard that she's been linked with Leicester and back to Liverpool. If they pick her up, listen, she's a good asset. Let's not sort of, sugarcoat it. She will make a good sort of player for them. Very solid and dependable. But I think, just anything with Martha, like, it's hard to compare to the men's, because I want to say something like Phil Neville, where it's like utility, where like left back, right back, things like that. But yeah, the beard thing, I think Ben had a bet. Ben was Martha's Martha's favourite, or other way around. He was, but I think he had a challenge, and he said if Martha scored, because I think she was one of maybe 2 players that hadn't scored, the other being Kirsty Smith, that if she scored, he would shave his beard off. Now, by this time, his beard had grown significantly. It was like almost down to the middle of his chest at the point. So he got this flag made up, and he made this promise with Martha. We go down. Millwall was the last away game of that season. Kirsty Smith had already scored. So it was like, right, just on Martha. And I still don't know to this day how she ended up in the opposition penalty box. I'm still wondering and scratching my head, but she did. And somebody took her out and she got flattened. And we're like, oh, here we go. So Benny was dead nervous. And obviously, you know how it is. Martha got given the ball. I think it was Katie Zellum that gave her the ball and said, right, you get up there and take it. Puts it in the bottom corner as well. I'm sure, without watching it back, I'm sure she even sent the keeper the wrong way. Now, for a right back that's never scored a goal in her life, it was unreal. So obviously then, as you can imagine, it was chaos in the stands. For anyone that's not been to that ground, it's all standing. There's no seats. So we were jumping everywhere. I think there was people close to going over advertising boards. There was a big pile on Bennett, and it was just absolute chaos. And then after the game, Remington had got wind of it on Twitter. So they followed a few of like the fans and like messaging, like, can we get something done? So Ben got a free set of Remington shavers, clippers, beard trimmers, bits for his hair. And then we went and shaved it all off live on YouTube at Hotel Football, funnily enough. So nice. I think that has to be my Martha memory, like just that penalty with it being her only United goal. And just everything surrounding it that season, I think I'm going to have to go with that for me. But like I say, that's probably taken away from everything else. But, that's my
it has echoes of that Gary Pallister goal in 93 against Blackburn, because I think it was only him and Brian Robson didn't score that season when we won the first set, and we're like, have the free kick, and he put it in.
Yeah. It couldn't have gone any better that day. Yeah. It's like, it was weird because that ground as well, it was like a sort of a community sports club. So there was like foot golf, there was a load of like little football games. So we were messing about doing that and like penalty shootouts on the Astro. And then it just topped the day off. Just Martha putting a penalty in the bottom corner, the keeper going the wrong way. And then it just be an absolute chaos. I didn't know whether to, I think people were just laughing because they're in shock, laughing, but jumping on Benny. And it was unreal. Quality day. And it was a good way to finish the last game of the season as well on the road. So, yeah, Martha goes down as a penalty specialist just for that.
Martha Harris, the one who got Benny shave his beard.
That's it. Yeah. I think the funny thing was, because we went live, some of the players actually tuned in. Like, we were getting comments because we streamed it on, I think we streamed it on Twitter and YouTube, and people were like commenting because we wanted Martha to do it. We were like asking the club, can Martha come and do it? We didn't get that far, but yeah, there was about 5 or 6 players all laughing at him and commenting. It was great. I'm gonna have to find the video if I can, and we'll tweet it. It was just
definitely should.
I noticed that Ben actually shaved his beard off a few days ago. The first time we'd done it in ages. 2 days later, we announced that Martha had gone. So I wonder if perhaps he got wind of it early on.
In the good old days.
Well, he learned not to do it for Jackie Groman, didn't he?
No. I think if he'd have done it for Jackie without sounding horrible to Jackie, Ben's beard would now be down to his feet. You'd have to tie it. It'd be like a little Vikings money from Norway or something. You'd have to tie it up.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
No.
My goodness.
He needs because I
You're going to get so much hate on Twitter for that.
He needs a new challenge, though, because I said if he picks an obscure challenge and it happens, I want him to dye his hair half red, half white, like the kit, like straight down the middle. But I don't think he's feeling it, so we'll have to come up with something where it'll still be a good challenge, and then we'll get him on it for this season.
Yeah, well, next Saturday night show.
Yeah. Night live and Benny makes a mess.
Perfect segue there, Matt, because we're talking about saying goodbye to Martha. But we're also starting to talk about new challenges and the things that we want in the transfer window. I'll have to correct some information that we put out a couple of weeks ago on the fans forum. We use Google, and Google was not our friend. Google lied to us. In fact, the transfer window opens today. Would you believe? So, hooray! If I had the musical things, we'd have a bit of that, but I don't think we got the money in the pot for that copyright. So, we'll just have to make do with it. But transfer opens today, ends on the 8th of September, I do believe. So, we've got that open. There's lots going on. It's all in the panel at the moment about 2 people. So, obviously, we mentioned Jackie Groden. That's been mentioned. There are some conflicting reports out there. There's some what looks like Italian websites suggesting that Jackie could potentially be going to Juventus. There are some people saying that she'll be staying here at Old Trafford. And the chat at the moment is all about Amy Turner. And I have seen one. It's Lanzell. Eddie, hold on to your hat. But he's put this. How would you feel about that, Eddie? Would you swap Amy Turner for Diane Caldwell?
I would.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, sorry, Ellie. I know you love Diane, but you know, if there was a
I've never
possibility
seen Amy
of getting
play.
Amy Turner back,
Yeah.
I'd be all in. You know, it was confirmed within the last sort of couple of hours that she definitely left Orlando. If Anger had tweets anything to go by, it was not an amicable passing. Yeah, 1,000% bring it home.
That's 3 people. Are you going to be that lone voice?
You just know what you're getting, don't you?
Yeah.
I think she is. Go on, what are you going to go for, El?
It's interesting, though, but on a current buying our contracts or something, I don't know what's going on there, but clearly something else.
Who knows?
But obviously, these last few weeks, I know how much Amy Turner's loved at the club, even if she's at a different club. So, I don't know. As much as I love Diane, I'll have to say Amy Turner.
Who knows?
You gotta have quality. You gotta have quality in your team. If you're gonna build and invest, you gotta get the quality players. And obviously, Diane's she did well for her. She's a Diane United fan, but you know her ages and then she's not necessarily one for the future. So I think you need to get someone who will provide that quality on a consistent basis. For a number of years, and I think that's why Amy's probably the better one.
I think you're right. I think it would be amazing to get Amy back. So yeah, if anybody's watching from the club, get on the phone, those people, that would be cool. Talk about new challenges. Here's a new challenge. I just want to briefly bring up this season friendly tournament that we're potentially off our way to. At Paris Saint-Germain, if you don't mind, are the team we've got to try and beat. If we do, we get the glamour tie against Bayern Munich or Barcelona. Everybody wanted Champions League. Genuinely, I believe this is a really good chance to see where we're up, where we are against those people. Chelsea, for example, have struggled. They did make it to the Champions League final, I know, but they haven't been superb when it comes to the Women's Champions League. I mean, the other 2 sides, City and Arsenal, I'm not entirely sure they really know what the Champions League is. So, they've been in it long enough, I don't think. What do you guys think? Is this pre-season friendly something that's going to be helpful? Matt, let's ask you first. What do you think? Looking forward to that?
Me or the other one? Go on, I'll start off. I think for me, the only complaint I've got is I was looking at flights and Toulouse is just a ridiculous place.
It's so confusing.
I think for me, if we can get there, it'll be ideal. Good opposition, like you said, Barry, what we need to test ourselves against the best. Let's see what it brings. It's interesting. I've actually had a look as well. I think you get 3 tickets for €12. Both
are we here?
So can't complain there.
Bit of a technical drama here.
Can you all hear me, Barry?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Oh, I can just hear him just fading in and out. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or his.
I think it's Wi-Fi.
I'm gonna blame you, Barry, but I'll carry on waffling, pal. But yeah, I think for me, we've not really tested. Oh, he's going now. not really tested ourselves properly in pre-season as such. And I think for me now, 3 top European sides there is certainly what we need. Matt, I may as well pass over to you, pal, whilst we wait for him. Go around the place.
Well, yeah.
I'll just host. Come on, Matt.
So, sorry, people in the comments, you won't get your comments read now.
Oh, there he is.
We've always wondered if the host has to leave, if it all goes wrong. The answer to your question is the show goes on and your mates get to run the asylum. I've got no idea what you were just talking about. Where are we up to?
We're going to go to the second Matt now. We're going to the second Matt now.
On to the other Matt now. He's going to give us his thing.
Well played, everyone. Goodness me.
Yeah, so I think as Matt was saying, it's a good test. We are allegedly aiming to play in the Champions League and compete against those top sides. So I think playing these friendlies will give us a really good indicator of where we are at in comparison to those sides and see firsthand, exactly how big the gap is and exactly what we need to do in order to close that gap. I'd love to be able to go myself, but unfortunately, it's a non-starter because I'm a student. Do I need to say more about the finances of it? But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a great experience for the players being able to play against the elite sides with about 3 of the very best in Europe. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great experience. I'm done.
Barry, if you froze it up. Go on, I'll carry on. Pass it over to Ellie.
Well, I think it'll be a really good experience. So obviously we know how bad we want to get to Champions League. So it'd be good for
Ellie, what's your thoughts?
Carry on, Ellie. Oh, carry on.
So obviously our squad is still young.
Highly professional on Friday.
Chat, Barry. Private chat, and I'll reading me.
Oh dear.
So I was just thinking, because our squad's still young, it's good to obviously gain some experience with them, because obviously I've been told that our players who are in the Euros might not be going there, so it would be a good opportunity for like Martha Thomas and Kirsten and Sophie Bagley as well to try and see what they are actually made of. So I think it's good, and you know what? Even if we lose, I think it'd be a good experience if we can make it there. So it'll be a good experience against the bigger sides, and it will see where we're at to get to Champions League.
John, dare you speak up?
Yeah. So I think it's
on my screen. So can you hear me, or am I still dead?
well, as I was saying, so basically, I think it's going to be good for the girls to get this kind of competition against some of the best teams in Europe. It'll get us, hopefully, when we get in the Champions League within next year or two, it'll be good to get used to that kind of competition. It will be pretty easy, so I don't think we won't have our full strength squad, but over the other ones, because they'll have players in Euros as well, and I assume they won't be playing either. So, but it'll be good to see us play. Yeah, it'll be a nice weekend for some of our fans and that, and hopefully we're going to lose to win. So we'll wait and see.
Am I live?
You are.
Hooray! Just in time. Okay. Listen, do you know what? It's all by the power of the phone at the moment because the lovely people from BT don't work weekends. It's a bit of a nightmare at the minute. Usually my phone's all right, but there we go. Goodness me. Right. Where were we? So we've done a brilliant bit there about that. We wanted to talk about the Lionesses, and I know Matt's got to run off, but I'm sure he will want to tell us all how he feels about Katie Zellum not being chosen for the Euros this season, and also his general thoughts on the ones that have been picked. So Matt, over to you for your final contribution, and thank you again for tonight.
That's a pleasure. Yeah, I think anybody that knows, I usually complain about Jill Scott, and that's where I'm going to go tonight because it baffles me how players are picked on, I feel sometimes, sentiment, what they've done in the past. I was actually expecting Steph to be in there for those reasons, but that's going to take at least an hour, so I'm not going to go there. But I think, I read something the other day on Twitter, and I think Zellum was like second or third for central midfielder for like stats for like, tackles, passing, goal contributions, things like that, even goals scored as well. And yet we've got somebody that's approaching 40 that's probably not going to play, taking up a space in the squad. You could argue Zellum. There's probably players at other clubs I can't even think off the top of my head that could potentially, be in there as well. But I think on the whole, looking at it, apart from Jill Scott getting a call up, it's not a bad squad. I think it's pretty much spot on for me. The ones that were dropped, obviously Steph's not fully fit. We were never going to take a load of goalkeepers, so I think that's probably the correct call with that. I suppose Niamh Charles has been quality for Chelsea. She could probably count herself as a little bit unlucky, but then it's like, who'd you drop? It becomes a little bit difficult. But I think overall, I'm quite happy with what we have. I think this is probably the best squad I'd say we've had for numerous years. Probably go back at least 5, maybe 6 years. We've always had squads that are capable of competing, but I think this year we've got a nice blend of youth and experience. And I just feel like on the sort of the Zellum situation, whether it was her, whether it was somebody else, we could still take Jill and Steph as like backroom staff, so to speak. They could still be non-playing, travelling members of that party and give the bit that they give off the pitch. So, yeah, I think this will be Jill's last tournament. And again, whether it's sentiment and this is like a goodbye in front of people at your home Euros. But for somebody that only played half a season at Villa, it's a little bit. I think if I was Katie or anybody else that was in with a shout, I'd be a little bit peed off. But, from a United point of view, it gives a chance to rest, recuperate, get ready for this tournament in this mad area of France where God knows how many flights it's going to take to get there. And yeah, we'll go again. But yeah, that's my little 2 minutes worth.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much once again for being here. It's an absolute delight having had you on. Thank you. I'll move to Friday night.
Pleasure.
And enjoy your evening. Thanks for popping
I'll
on.
Catch you all soon. See you later.
Take care, Matt. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Johnny Boy, what are you thinking? It's a very interesting squad. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's like you say, it's an interesting squad. 3 bars, Herbs, Tooney, and Russo obviously in the squad. That's no surprise. We were expecting that. I think Lucy missing out. I'm not too surprised about that because I think she's obviously not played much this season. She had injury halfway through the season. Didn't really play that much. Maybe a couple of sub appearances here and there. So I'm not too surprised that she missed out. But yeah, I am a bit surprised by Zone missing out, to be honest. I think we've obviously spoken regularly on this channel. She's unique in the way she plays for us. For whatever reason, she's not fancied by the England manager, and I'm a bit surprised. Even if she's not going to play, you suspect she could do a job in the game, and that she does dictate the play reasonably well. And I think but on the positive side, I think it does get us ready for she can prepare for the new season now for United, and she can concentrate on her own game for the Reds. I'm always been a believer in United over England, and she can hopefully controlling the game. Maybe she might even do something like goals and just out of sticks playing for United now. But then that's the other argument, that now that she's not going, we may find out about a new contract or not pretty soon, because like with some players like obviously Russo, we might not know about that for a while potentially, but even then I still hope that we find out before the Euros, because she's out of contract by the end of the month. But we know Zelen will be also, but now that she's not going to Euros, hopefully we'll find out in the next week or two whether she stays or not. So yeah, it's this one she's got in the England squad, but I think it'll be to our benefit.
Absolutely. So, I mean, Katie Zellen, we know, has been picked for the England squad on numerous occasions prior to today. And each time she was picked, she didn't really get any time on the pitch. Is it that much of a shock that she didn't get the chance to go based on what Serena's done? I mean, I feel it's a shock in terms of how good she has been. But in terms of the way that Serena's chosen to deal with her, what's your thoughts on Zellen missing out?
Well, obviously, as a United fan, I am truly gutted for her, because I would have thought she would have shined this Euro if she actually would have got in. But I can't really moan, because it was such a good squad we've got this summer coming up. Like, we've got good centre backs, like with Rachel Daly and everything. I'm not moaning about that, but maybe Jill Scott, I'm not too sure about. She should have made it, because obviously she's getting old. She's one of the oldest there, but like Matt said, it could have just been about sentimental now. Like, it could be her last tournament, so that maybe that's why she's there. But
or experience.
Yeah, maybe our experience, because I read the other day she's got one of the most caps for England, so maybe that's why as well. And then Ellen White as well. I thought, Ellen White, really? But I think that's because of the caps and everything like she's got, because she's been there since day one at England, so maybe that's why. But I'm really glad Ella and Russo are going together, and obviously Mary in net number one. So I'm happy about that. But with Zelna, I thought I was a bit gutted, because she's been excellent for us this last season. So we're really going to miss her on the corners. That's why I'm really going to miss her at the corners. So it's a shame, but obviously, like we all said,
the Russo Zone partnership.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I would have loved to see the partnership this summer, but like we said, it'll give a chance to recuperate for the new season. So at least we know she's safe from no injuries and all that, and we can prepare her for this pre-season and the new season. I mean, yeah, she probably was really, really gutted, but obviously she'll be focused on the new season now. So
For sure. And Matt, the score's an interesting one. I think the goalkeepers themselves, we knew that was going to be the case. The defence, pretty much as we would expect. But it is, Fran Kirby, I suppose if you're fit, you've got to take her. Jill Scott, Georgia Stanway, Ella Toon, Kira Walsh, Leah Williamson. Up front, Bethany England, Lauren Hem, Chloe Kelly. Again, she's had the injuries. Mead, Nikita Paris, Russo, and Ellen White. Could you have seen one of those missing out for Zellum?
You're taking your life if you had.
Paris.
Talk about Katie Zellum. I'll warn you now. Yeah, I don't think the squad is very top heavy on forwards. It's on like 5 midfielders and 9 forwards. Like, do you really need that many? I get people's argument about Jill Scott. I'll be honest, there was one point this is where I actually forgot she was even on loan at Villa. But she made that a little impact. But to be honest, the one I would have left at home was probably Nikita Paris, because I was looking into her stats and she only actually started 5 games in the WSL this season. I think she featured in 18 games, but only 5 of them were starts. And she only actually scored 1 goal. Now, Leah Williamson and Lotta Wogan-Moy both scored more than that in defence. So it's a bit of a head scratcher for me that you can take a forward to a major tournament when they've only scored 1 league goal all season. So I think she would probably have been the one that I would have dropped. Would I have taken Katie Zellum? 1000%. Look, I think you only need to look on my Twitter on any given day to know my opinion of Katie Zellum. Let's address the elephant in the room there. But at the same time, she's shown repeatedly throughout this season that she can perform in the big games against big teams. We saw her score and assist in the Old Trafford game. John talks about the link up between her and Russo. Both of Russo's goals against Arsenal last season came from Katie Zellum corners. Of course, the first of her famous trio of corner kick goals came against City. So she's got that ability to deliver in the big games. And I honestly don't know anybody in the squad that is her equal when it comes to set piece ability. And
I think Greenwood is Alex Greenwood. She was saying she's decent, but there was no one in the WSL last season who was better at set pieces than Zellum. She was superb. If you need a goal late on, and you need it from a corner, who's better to have on a corner kick? It's Zellum. No.
Yeah, one other quick point. I read an article from Jamie Spencer yesterday. It said that Zellum created 43 chances in 22 league games last season. Only Beth Mead created more. Now, you're taking, you've got a player who's created on average pretty much 2 chances per game across the season, and you're not taking them to a tournament? Really?
So she can be very, very unlucky. She can has got very, very unlucky. But as we know, managers have favourites.
Indeed. And speaking of favourites, John, we need to get into our conversational point. So I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Zellum being left out, but also you wanted to add Lucy Staniforth to that mix. What angle were you coming at this from?
Yeah, I mean, I touched upon it a moment ago about Zellum. That I'm actually think it might be to United's benefit in the long term, and particularly for the new season, that she can come back refreshed. She'll get a proper pre-season as well. Sometimes at times when you have a major tournament like this year, players who play in that tournament particularly go long in it. They don't really have a major tournament. You have to look at some of the England players who were in Euros last year in the men's game. It took a few of them quite a while to recuperate, and maybe some of United's players who were involved in this tournament might be as next season. And I personally think Zellum is United, along with Suni, she's United's most important player. And the fact that she'll get a proper pre-season and she'll be ready at the start of the season, I think is massively beneficial to us. As we know, Lucy has missed out as well. Unfortunately, she was a bit unlucky with injury last season. I'm not surprised that she's been left out, but again, if she can have a good summer off, get a good pre-season, then we might be prepared, and hopefully she'll be prepared for next season. So I personally think, and you look at Leah Goldson as well. She's not going either. That's another key player who'll be here next season who will have the summer off. Get a good pre-season. And I just think that sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. And I'll tell you what, if I was selling, I'd usually, putting United before England, because she's not made Euro squad in spite of having a good season, I wouldn't blame her if she actually did what Goldson says, I'm not playing for England, I'm concentrating on the United career, particularly, because this manager doesn't fancy her, it appears. And I think that would be to our benefit, and that. So, in my opinion, I would consider doing that if I was
her. Absolutely. What's your thoughts, Ellie?
Obviously, I kind of expected Lucy to be out, to be honest, because she obviously of her injury, and towards the end of the season we literally only seen in 2 games. So yeah, I wasn't too mithered with her, but obviously Zelma was. But like John just said, it just gets them going for the new season now. So it is a blessing in disguise sometimes. So like we don't have to be worried about the injuries. Like in the Lionesses are only three players, so we don't have to be really worried about injuries. So they can just come back ready and raring to go for the new season, I reckon.
Absolutely. And Matt, I suppose it works both ways, isn't it? I mean, Russo could come back injured, and that would be, a nightmare for us, or Earps, or something like that.
I've got to sign a contract first, Barry.
Yeah.
As long as you take your hand, you do that. Use a Matt. Hold it like that. Still counts. Matt, what's your thoughts? Is it beneficial for us?
It sounds a very close contract. I basically say to her, right, what do you want? And whatever she says, give it to her. Lifetime contract, yeah, fine. I wasn't surprised that Lucy missed out, to be honest. I was pleasantly surprised when she was named in the preliminary squad, to be honest, because, good player though she is, she's missed a lot of football and she'd only just come back from injury at the end of the season. So I didn't expect her to be factoring into Serena Egan's thinking at all. So I did fully expect her to be one of the 5 that was cut. I think we all did. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Yes, there is always a danger that they could come back injured and perhaps, they'll be a bit knackered if England have gone deep in the tournament. But you saw it being a double-edged sword, and I think that's right. If England have a long run, dare I mention the possibility of actually winning the thing, Toon and Russo show the ability that we all know they've got and have a brilliant tournament, that could actually have the opposite effect in that they would go into the new season on a massive high because they've had a brilliant summer. I don't really fully know the answer to that until potentially the 31st of July when the tournament finishes.
Fair enough. It's a good point. I think, it's one of those between the devil and the deep blue sea things, really, isn't it? Where, obviously you want people like Zellum and Stan to go because ultimately it raises their profile. It's good for them. It's good for the club. It means they get that European experience, not just playing against the domestic ones. I can see why we'd want them to be there, but equally, of course, if you're getting a full pre-season and you've got that ability to be ready for the club as well, it's like, how do you balance that? It's really tricky. But I suppose sticking with the Lionesses briefly, we know that Tooney and Lucy will be going. Ellie, I know you wanted to talk about how good it is that the two of them are together, and I want to tag on to that question that comment that you're about to make with the fact that they were the 2 players for us that didn't actually play last night in the 3-0 win. My first question, I suppose, to you whilst you introduce your topic is, was that the right move? Is it just a case of she's looking at other system or not? What do you think? Was it right or was it not?
So obviously, when last night, I think, to be honest, I think Serena is really just saving Tooney and Russo for next week, I hope. Because last night I seen on Twitter and everyone was saying to me, like, bring Tooney and Russo on because we know they can score. Because I think it was 0-0 at half time or something. So I even said, yeah, bring them both on because we know.
Did you get the question, Ellie? Or have I gone a bit funny again?
Yeah, we got the question. You broke a midstream.
I'll just carry on. So obviously I was a bit gutted that they didn't It's gone.
It's carrying on.
That's enough.
I was obviously gutted that obviously Tooney and Musa didn't play last night. But then again, we've got a tough opponents next week, Netherlands. So with obviously Jackie and the goat and Viv. So I think she's just trying to save Tooney and Musa for next week. And I really do hope they get some time on the pitch next week, because I'll be there and I'll be screaming for them. I'll be telling them to get them to on the pitch. So I really do hope so. And I would say my topic was just about how Tooney and Russo are going to the Euros together, because I thought there was a video I think that Lionesses put on about Tooney, just saying how amazing it is to be going to the Euros, and especially with my best friend as well. So about when the squad came out, I was a bit optimistic about Russo going. I thought, will she get picked? Will she not? Because after I got told that it was between her and Beth England. Thought, what? No, it can't be. So I'm glad she got picked, and obviously Tooney's really glad she got picked too, because they started their career together in the under-15s camp, and in that video it just shows how much they love each other and how much they support each other, because she even cried while saying it. So the partnership between them two is amazing, and I think that can spur Tooney on all the way this summer to be doing it with her best friend as well. So what do you guys think of them both going together?
Well, let's find out. I think I'm back live again. This is the most stressful part of my life.
What's the female? For lads, we call it bromance. What's the female equivalent? What's that called?
I'm sure. Matt, I'm going to throw it over to you.
They're like sisters, aren't they? You know, they grew up together, and they're very close. Sunni, obviously. And I think she gave that interview a few weeks back, and well, not an interview, no, where she answered the questions. Where it was like, who did you last ring? And it was like, say goodnight to Leslie, you know. That and so and it was, so yeah, but yeah, obviously they're great friends, aren't they? And they've grown in the United States, particularly this season. Now it's good to see them as, you know, they didn't play last time, star players for England, and they fully deserve it, and they're only going to go from strength to strength, and hopefully their relationship will continue when Russo signs a contract. So hopefully Tuna can twist around on that one, hopefully. But yeah, we'll wait and see. But yeah, it's great, and I'm confident they'll have a good tournament. I think they'll do well for England, and yeah, hopefully they can bring it home. Hopefully,
keep them protected at all costs, Serena, though, please.
Yeah,
go on, Matt.
We here.
Yeah, I'll carry on. Yeah, obviously, I was saying, you know, they are practically like the sisters. I kind of hope we see them do a joint interview at some point during the year, just because it will be absolutely chaotic, the two of them together. You know, this allows us to be sentimental for a bit. It is lovely to see that they have quite literally grown up together, gone through the ranks together. Now they're at United and they're now going to the first tournament together. Hopefully, you know, they will have a great tournament. In terms of neither of them featuring last night, yeah, it was a shame. Obviously, as United fans, we want to see our girls in action, but we've got 3 friendlies, you know, over the course of the next week or so. Got 2 more still to come, and I think it was just simply a case of Serena wanting to try out a few different things.
Yeah, so seeing if Nicholas Paris could do something useful.
Just look at my tweets since the squad announcement. And you will be very clear about my opinion of Nikita Paris. That is all I'm saying. Yeah, I think she was just trying to make sure that everyone gets a bit of game time heading into the tournament, because the last thing you want to do is go to the Euros and end up having to call on somebody who hasn't played in the lead up. So, yeah, I've got no doubt that we'll see them in a couple of games, hopefully against the Dutch. Oh, no,
Oh, no.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can.
Fantastic. Right, Ellie's had to drop off. She's had to nip out. Goodness gracious me, this has been the hardest show I've ever done. And this might well be the one.
We kept it going. It was full of laughs and wonder and all that. So,
well done, you lot.
Yeah, it's been a day before.
3 of us left. Matt, I know you've wanted to get your one out there. Let's see if we can throw your topic in there. And we'll see if we can scrape ourselves across the line. Well done, people in the comments. I've got no idea how you've managed to stick with us for so long. Fair play. Matt, give it a go. What do you reckon? What is your topic for today?
Yeah, I know something that's obviously been a major talking point since the season finished is the lack of, well, anything really. You know, we're doing this show on the 17th of June. Season finished on the 8th of May. And since then, we've had 0 contract renewals, 1 departure confirmed, and no new signings. And it just seems like we haven't learned the lessons of the past. You know, last season, we got to the point where the fixtures for the season were revealed on the 23rd of July. And at that point, we didn't have a manager in place. I think we all knew at that stage that it was highly likely to be Mark, but it hadn't been officially confirmed. So you get to a position where it's only about 5 weeks before the season when the manager comes in. So that was a bit of a mess. But you think, okay, maybe that summer was just a bit of a blip. I think mistakes were made. There were reasons why Casey left that we know about. Hopefully, that will just be a bit of a brutal learning experience, but a learning experience all the same. But it feels like that hasn't happened. You know, a lot was said at the time about some of the big players that were leaving City, you know, players that have been key to what they've done in recent years. But already we've seen those players replaced. You know, we've seen Arsenal buying players and renew contracts. Chelsea announced some of their departures before the season even finished. Spurs have already been active in the market. So it feels like we're just sitting still. You know, we're happy to just chill in the Mancunian sunshine. And my concern is that not only are we allowing the top 3 to move even further away from us, but at the same time, we're allowing sides like Spurs to come up behind us and potentially overtake us. You know, the last couple of seasons, we've taken the fight for Champions League football to the last day. That should be the incentive that really drives us on. You know, it feels like both on the women's side and on the men's side, I no longer recognise the club I grew up supporting. That's not just because of results, but the attitude behind the scenes. You know, Gary Neville talks about wanting to be best in class at everything. And that has always been the mentality at United. We want to be the best at everything, where it's on the pitch, in the boardroom, the whole works. But it seems like that is no longer the case and hasn't been for quite some time. We're happy to tread water and do the bare minimum, or what that is actually doing is putting us backwards.
Well, I'm going to jump in here, which is highly unusual for the host. I'm going to hope everyone can hear me, and this isn't going to come in halfway through John speaking. It doesn't seem like it is, so that's good. But I mean, I would argue that you're saying that the others are putting further ahead, but the reverse seems to be true, because actually I think we were closer to the top of the league this season than we have been in any other season. And again, just because we haven't been told, I don't necessarily think means that nothing's happening behind the scenes. So I think those two things need to be mentioned as well, for fairness, I suppose, on top of the other things. But John, what do you reckon? Matt's come on here. He's come out swinging. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there is a general frustration with the club at the moment. It's not just with the women's team, same with the men's team. We've got no signings there. We've got with players. I'm sure we're working on them at this moment. But I think the other factor you got to bear in mind is for the women's game, it's you got the Euros, and I think you won't see a lot of activity. I know Chelsea and have announced players, so City and all that, but they're well run, like you say, and unfortunately, we don't have a women's director of football, for example. We're still waiting to appoint one, and I think John Murto he's got his work cut out. I know he's got a deputy in, but he's trying to get things on the men's side. He's also got things on the women's side, so it's not clear. He's got a massive job on his hands, and I do think you'll see a lot more activity after the Euros. I think that's the case with most teams personally. I think Martha Harris obviously is the first one. I think you might see, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 more the next week or so, or next 2 weeks. I then personally think we'll move on to the contract. Down to new contracts in maybe July. Like I said before, I think Zelen will hear about, hopefully Russo and maybe a few others. And I think it won't be until after the Euros when we'll start to get a lot more activity, in my opinion. I do think we'll be working on players, and we would have spoken to players, a lot of them might be playing in the Euros and that. So, and a lot of players won't have decided where they're going yet until after the Euros either, and I think it's unhelpful. Ideally, you want to get all these things done, but sometimes it's not always possible. So, but I've always said we'll judge it at the end of the transfer window.
100%. We spoke about it briefly in the chat beforehand. I just suppose it's really, Matt, to finish, want to hear your thoughts on, you mentioned a new club mentality, whether or not that was holding us back. So do you want to give us your final salvo with regards to that?
Yeah, you see, I do wonder how long we can use that as an excuse, because ultimately, we've been a WSL club for 3 years now. I've done an entire university degree in that time. When I started my course, we were only 2 weeks in to our first ever WSL season. And, I got my results this week, and I think it's a long time. 3 years is a long time. We're going into the 4th season. Are we really that new anymore?
Well, I'll tell you what, let me throw you a question then. Little question for you. So you've just done a degree, I believe, in journalism, is that correct?
Yeah.
Superb. Congratulations for that. It's always a hard job to be getting a degree, so well done on that one. But my question for you is this. You're going to get a job, presumably, as a journalist. And when you get that job, how will you describe yourself? Will you be a seasoned veteran journalist, or shall it be a new one?
Well, yeah, I'd be a new one, but I'm effectively at the point in my journalism career now that we were in the summer of 2018. Okay. I'm right at the start. I've only just finished my degree. My graduation's not till next month, so I am right at the start as we were in the championship. by the equivalent sort of 2026, I wouldn't class myself as a new journalist by that point.
Fair point. Fair point indeed. John, what do you think? Is there such a thing as a new club mentality? Do you think we still hark onto that too much, or do you think it's fair to point out that actually we are new compared to all of the other clubs in the WSL, and it's going to take us a while to build that legacy, to build that history, to attract the players just because of the name?
Well, I think you've got to build and all that, but the mentality should always be the same: to challenge, to compete, to strive to be the best, try to be successful. That should be the drive. That should be it. And all this, I agree with Matt. This new mentality. Well, what does that even mean? You play football to win. And you play to. And I'm not saying you demand success early on. It's a step by step process, of course it is. But but you should always have the mentality we wanna. Like when we're in the championship, it's like we want to get in the WSL. We want to be established in the WSL. We want to challenge for the top three. We want to eventually win the league. That's what the long-term aim is. And this new mentality, you got to have that one mentality, and that is to strive, succeed, to compete against everyone. And that should be the mentality of any footballer, regardless of where you're at, and the same with the club and that, I think with Manchester United, we are a young team in terms of how long we've existed for, but, the name is still Manchester United. And I've said this before, the WSL was a good league, a decent league before we came, but now that we're part of it, it's only gone up another level. The fact that we're involved, we've got great support and all that. Everyone is like, it's great to have a Manchester United women's team. So yes, we're not established success. Chelsea have all the success, and we're not established ourselves on that front. But you still got to have the aim is Manchester United's place to be, and you've got to looking to bring in players who suit that mentality and want to be a part of the future, which hopefully is successful. So you should always have one mentality, and that's to win.
Well, fair play. We were never going to solve it all in one night. I do still feel like there is an element of new club mentality there, and I think there has to be, insofar as you just said, you've done your 4 years, you've been learning how to do the job. You've got to improve each year. You've got to do better each year. Passing the first year isn't the same as passing the second year. You've got to do more the second year. So we get that. I think both answers are correct to a degree. We have to be proud of where we've come over the last 4 years. It doesn't change the fact we're still new. People are going to.
Let's be clear. He's gone off. Oh, he's gone off. So you got off there, Barry. Yeah, you're back now.
There you go. You want to finish off your point, John?
No, my point was that, you've got to strive to be and your aim is the top three, and then maybe the guys are confused when they say top four, so it must be Champions League. Well, no, it's actually just below, it's top three. but they can't afford. It's important to stress that the top three are very close. If you're competing to be in the top three, you're not far off winning the league. So if you win, and I think it's also about improving our record against top three as well. That if you pin the top three, you won't be that many points off the top. So that's what you got to aim for. And you got to keep progressing. If you don't and you stagnate, you end up going backwards.
Very true. Well, gang, it has been emotional, I think is the word I would use for today. I'm going to go away and see what I can do about this phone. It's probably going to end up in a bin somewhere. Around Stevenage, there'll be a new one available around where I live very soon. Failing that, I think we're going to have to find a new hotspot for me in order to get in on Monday night and next Friday, because we can't be having this again. But like I say, fair play to everyone in the comments. Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't throw too much up on the screen today, but I genuinely thought I might overload the phone again, because it was only when I started sharing those it all went wrong. So We'll see how we go. I'll be back on a normal way, I'm sure. Thank you very much to Matt Crane for his nice little half an hour cameo. Thanks as well to Ellie. Thanks to you two for sticking with us for the whole bit. John, bless him, is going on to the men's channel in less than an hour's time. So, hey, if you want
we'll be talking about the rumours about transfers and everything. So we'll be assessing the tier levels and everything. So come and give it a watch.
And it'll all be on proper Wi-Fi, so you'll be able to hear it in real time. You won't
we hope so, anyway.
So that'll be all good. In terms of us, Wolf United WFC, I don't believe we've got anything happening tomorrow night. You never know. Sometimes things pop up. We're due back for definite next on Monday evening. I'll be back, hopefully with a stronger internet connection. As I'm sure Connor will be as well, as he leads us in yet another conversation of fun and frolics. I'll be back next Friday. I've already got 2 guests confirmed. We're looking forward to seeing the return of Marty and John, see what else is going on and see if I can pull anybody else in. I think I need to go for a really big drink because this has been tough. Thanks, everyone. It's been a really enjoyable evening. Take care, and we'll see you again soon.
Take care. Bye.
Yes.